I think a McDavid deal gets done this summer. I think that there is going to be so much more noise around McDavid than there was Draisaitl. And I think that McDavid wants to stay in Edmonton. I think obviously Edmonton wants to keep him, and they will hammer out a deal.
Let's talk Oilers. Let's begin with the Trent Frederic contract, because I can't remember a contract that has been speculated about and discussed more than this weird contract that Edmonton and Trent Frederic are inking. And that is that it's an 8-year deal. And we heard $3.5 million a couple of weeks ago from a pretty reputable source. And then the Netters boys, a few days later, said they heard 8 years and $3.75 million from a pretty good source. And yesterday, Andy Strickland puts out there, Oilers and Trent Frederic are closing in on an 8-year deal with a $4 million AAV. The only thing I know for sure is that report is wrong. It's not $4 million a year. Another thing I know is that my jaw dropped when I heard 8 times $3.5 million. I thought that was too much.
Yes.
And
my jaw dropped when I heard the 8.
I'm cool with
8 being involved no matter what is crazy.
I thought that 8 was clever because the Yanni Gourde deal and everything, and just sign up guys that don't quite know what their future is to long-term deals at a low number. If it's 8 times $2.75 million for Trent Frederic, I am over the moon, because by the end of that deal, Matt Rempe is making $2.75 million, because that's where the cap will be.
I get it, but at the end of the day, Trent Frederic is a replacement level player. He's not a bad player. He is a replacement level player, and you do not need to lock in replacement level players for 8 years, maximum term, because they are replacement level. There will be players that you can replace them with.
Yes.
That to me, you're locking yourself into an 8-year deal that has, it's not going to be an albatross, but it can become a problem for you.
I think that they are overreacting to all season, thinking we need to get some toughness here, because they were playing all season without Evander Kane. They'd yet to get Trent Frederic. Their muscle was being provided largely by Vasily Podkolzin. Love you, bud.
Yeah.
And then like Zach Hyman took on that part and did all these things. And I think that once they got the idea in the postseason that, oh man, this is an identity. We got 2 best players in the world, 2 of the best players in the world, we'll say. And we're also really tough to play against. Yeah, this is going to do us a lot of good. Yeah, keep Trent Frederic. Do you know what his projected contract is by AFP Analytics?
I do not, but I guarantee it's not 8 by 4 or 3.5 or 3.
So these contracts, you go super long, so you can go lower on the AAV.
Right.
His projected contract, and I know it off the top of my head, I'm not even referencing anything, is 2 years times $3.44 million. So they are going 6 more years at a higher AAV, and I'm basing this conversation on $3.5 million. Frank Saravalli, in all of this fucking confusion over this contract, said it's between 3.5 and 4.
So 3.5 is the
4.
floor.
Yes. So maybe it is that $3.75 million Dan's talking about.
And
that could be a great contract. With their situation, I am not signing that deal. And I have to remind people, and I remind my Oilers people of this all the time, like, oh, I love Trent Frederic.
We're a Trent Frederic podcast.
Like, big Trent Frederic guy.
Yeah.
I'm a big Darnell Nurse guy, too. I hate that contract.
Right. Yeah. And like, we're, credit to us, we're people who can separate the player from the contract.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bad contract. And somebody in the chat says, well, he was hurt, and there's a chance that he's much more noticeable for the Oilers. Well, you better fucking hope so.
Then do 2 times 3.44.
You better fucking hope so. But like, even knowing Trent Frederic and what he was in Boston, And he was good in Boston a couple of years ago. A career best season, 18 goals, 22 assists, 40 points.
40 points. And
40 points was his ceiling.
Who is the best player on that line?
Nick Foligno.
Nick Foligno.
Yeah.
Somebody else.
Right. So he's a useful player, and I like the fit in Edmonton. You do not need to give him 8 years, and you do not need to give him $3.5 million if you're giving him 8 years.
Okay, Sean, I have no idea if this is interesting or not, but there is today is Edmonton's breakup day, and Leon Draisaitl was asked about the future of one Connor McDavid. Hit me, brother.
I'm gonna be honest. I haven't really talked to Connor about it yet. There comes a time where we talk about it, but there's nothing that I can tell you right now that you want to hear or you need to hear. That's his situation, and he will do what's best for him and his family. And do I want him here forever? Yes, of course. I think everybody does. So yeah, there's not much I can give you there.
I don't like that.
Do you believe it?
That he has not talked to Connor McDavid about Connor McDavid's future with the Oilers? I'm going to say I don't believe it.
I'm going to say I do not believe that.
Did Leon go rogue and sign an 8-year extension last summer?
I'm going to say no. And Bob Stauffer, when we had him on, asked us straight up, was like, do you think that Leon Draisaitl would sign an 8-year deal with not knowing if Connor McDavid was going to be in Edmonton? And he's asked it hypothetically, or I guess rhetorically.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that these guys are not talking about what their future holds in Edmonton together.
Do you think this is going to be a thing this summer? Draisaitl didn't sign until mid-August, but honestly, maybe I'm making that up. Yeah, it was after the offer sheets, I think. But Draisaitl didn't sign until, let's say, over a month after he was eligible to do so. There was no question, at least to me, that he was going to resign because they were knocking on the door of a cup. That fear that we all had during the regular season had kind of dissipated. Is there any of that fear for you with McDavid?
Leon signed his extension on September 3rd. September
3rd. Okay, so he waited 2 months. How did I make that? How did I make it through that?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Because I don't think I was that worried.
No, but like once the rumors and like the discussion about it started heating up, the signing happened pretty quick, I felt like.
Yeah.
We were like just living our lives during the summer. We were improving ourselves during
Kirk
the summer.
says they chose Frederic over McDavid. Possibly.
That's right. I think a McDavid deal gets done this summer. I think that there is going to be so much more noise around McDavid than there was Draisaitl. And I think that McDavid wants to stay in Edmonton. I think obviously Edmonton wants to keep him, and they will hammer out a deal earlier on in the offseason.
Zach Phillips, the great Zach Phillips, producer of the sheet, brings up something that someone floated yesterday, and I've been thinking since Draisaitl signed that contract. Hear me out. Leon signs 8 years because it takes the heat off everything, coming off a cup run and trying again. I don't really care about that part, but the McDavid could leave after and Leon just walks in and asks for a trade. That would be very NBA, but yeah, that could happen.
It could happen, but I think Leon would have to consider how that reflects him. Like if
player empowerment.
I get it, but if you sign an 8-year deal and it's fully contingent and hinges on another player signing an 8-year deal, how does that reflect on you as a player and a personality?
I mean, if Paul George went on and just won shit, no one would care. But
I feel like it depends on the circumstances under which McDavid leaves, because if he feels like the Oilers were fucking around and they fumbled McDavid, then I think he can at least internally rationalize it as, I mean, they kind of changed the agreement here by fucking that up.
I think that if there was a circumstances of complete ineptitude that pushed Connor McDavid out the door and put the Oilers in a position where things look bleak for Leon Draisaitl's what's remaining on his 8-year term, I think that is a fair reason, but we're also projecting some things that haven't really happened yet.
I think that Connor McDavid is going to stay with the Oilers. I think he's going to sign a long-term deal. It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't sign a long-term deal. It wouldn't surprise me if he just did like a 4-year deal or something like that. But
Austin Matthews.
yes, I think he's going to stay with the Oilers. But I also think until that happens, and if there is a long wait for that to happen, the best player in the history of the sport's future being uncertain is going to be the number one thing to talk about in hockey bars and in hockey podcasts and everything. So I'll just say buckle up.
I also think that it's a situation where, number one, you're nervous that the player leaves, obviously, with McDavid. But number two, if he's in a walk year and you're under the pressure of like keeping him and convincing him to stay throughout the course of that season, like what does your desperation cause you to do?
Yeah, and that's why I remember I said I would have like Connor McDavid, or no, I said that I would not give Connor McDavid a blank check. I think that giving him a blank check could make him think,
these guys are so fucking desperate.
what are these guys fucking doing?
Yeah.
Are they not trying to win a cup? Why are they giving me $20 million?
Do they not have a plan?
No, fuck it. I'm leaving. Like I think that they do have to have a number in their mind. And if McDavid says, I want $2 million AAV more than that, then of course you give it to him. But just be careful. This would be a tough thing to squander, and I don't think they are going to mess it up. But we'll watch McDavid. Oilers cap space. We're going to try to fix them. Not that they really need great fixing. But after the Frederic signing, let's say that they have about $8.4 million in cap space. Their biggest RFA is Evan Bouchard, who will cost, of course, more than $8.4 million. Realistic UFAs, because Jeff Skinner, I love you. Give him double birds on the way out. Like, grab your Mando areas on the way out.
I mean, there's no reason to give him double birds. You say goodbye.
Why you wouldn't say double birds?
Double birds?
For Jeff Skinner?
Why would you give him the double birds?
No. Give them double birds on the way out. I'm saying
Jeff
like
Skin.
Jeff.
Okay.
Turn around as you're walking out and be like, I don't know what the fuck that was, but fuck you guys.
I mean, you got playoff games out of it. That's what you wanted.
His dream was realized. But
That's right.
Jeff Skinner, we know, is gone. Realistic UFAs. Connor Brown, I think, is a must. Corey Perry is if he wants to, he'll be back for cheap.
I don't know about that. I could see Corey Perry going elsewhere.
I'd be surprised, but you never know. He holds the record for most teams losing a cup with.
It's true.
At 5. He broke the record this year that was set by Corey Perry. John Klingberg, I'm saying, is a keep. Saying bring him back. And Kasperi Kapanen, maybe. I think that you're going to be filling out your roster with a lot of guys who are making $1 million. And I think that Connor Brown's probably getting a little more than that, but like John Klingberg is cheap. Kasperi Kapanen is cheap. Potential cap casualties. Evander Kane. He's got a year left at $5.125 million. He's got a 16-team trade list. This sounds crazy. You'll absolutely be able to trade Evander Kane.
Yeah, I think so.
There's once upon a time where as soon as you would sign Evander Kane to a contract, it's like, okay, well, buckle up because you're going to be stuck with that. Victor Arvidsson, 1 year at $4 million with a no move. That'll be a little tougher to do, but if I'm Victor Arvidsson, I am accepting pretty much whatever trade because you're going to be in and out of the lineup.
I mean, he's also a reasonable buyout candidate.
They're already buying out. They're still paying $2.3 million a year to Jack Campbell. And I think that there's a possibility you're going to be retaining a couple of $1 million if you're able to trade Darnell Nurse.
But if you really want the money, you're going to get a couple $1 million off a Arvidsson buyout, and then you're only getting a 1-year penalty, and it's not that bad, and the cap's going up.
How many years would it be? Just 1 year?
It's
just double.
It's 2 years. One, you get the savings. The second year, you get the penalty.
All right. Adam Henrique, 1 year times $3 million. I'm just keeping him.
Okay.
Darnell Nurse. Interesting one. 5 years left at $9.25 million. Was texting with Tyler Yaremchuk about this. He's got a no move, and that will make it tough. But if you're eating $2 million, Darnell Nurse for 5 years at $7.25 million is a totally fine guy to take on. But Tyler brought up, wouldn't you just like sign Ivan Provorov for that?
Like, is a team?
I'd rather Nurse than Provorov, but
Yeah, I would too. I don't know. I think that Seth Jones may have reset the market on how teams think about defensemen with bad contracts.
yeah.
And so Darnell Nurse is not as untradeable with that deal as he may have looked previously.
Here's a very interesting one for a potential trade. Matthias Ekholm has 1 year left on the Oilers' books, at least $6 million, because the Predators retained that on that entire contract, by the way. 1 year, $6 million, Matthias Ekholm, long in the tooth. When he's right, he's a number one defenseman. He was not right this year. Is that a place that you look for? If you do that, then that's a real, we are reshaping this whole defense type of thing. But you're going to be losing him at some point anyway. He's not going to be around forever. I think that Wallman is different type of player, but I think that you brought in Wallman to have defensemen that you're going to have around a little longer. So there are guys that they can move. There are guys that it'll be tough to move. But with $8.4 million or less in cap space after the Frederic signing, they're going to have to create space. The good news is there is space to be created with all those guys. Here's a hypothetical before we get to the big one, which is the goaltending situation. Should the Oilers consider trading Evan Bouchard, 25-year-old RFA, one of the best defensemen in the league, certainly a top 3 offensive defenseman in the league, third in points by defenseman the last 2 years, had an unbelievable postseason until halfway through the Stanley Cup Final, and he had a horrible postseason. This is a guy who would get you so much. This is also a guy who you're probably going to have to pay $11 million a year to keep. Would you consider trading Evan Bouchard?
Depends on the return.
He's your third best player, probably, would we say?
Probably.
And he's your best young player. That's a thing that you have to keep an eye on. They're so old.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my hypothetical for Evan Bouchard. And there's of course a Bruins one that we'll throw in a little bit, but Carolina Hurricanes have $28 million in cap space. They also have a lot of assets. If you want to position yourself to have cap space and also still stay young at that position, do you do some sort of deal around Alexander Nikishin and draft picks? Nikishin's 23 years old. He's an RFA after next season. Hurricanes have their own draft picks, but they've also got Dallas's 2026 first from the Mikko Rantanen trade. So let's say a deal starts around Nikishin and the Stars 2026 first for Evan Bouchard. Is that something you're trying to do if you're the Oilers?
If you're the Oilers, sure. I think that if you're Carolina, I would be very hesitant to trade Nikishin before you know who he is and what he is. I think he has a potential to have an extremely high ceiling. He's a big body, physical. Like, I would not rush. It's one of those things where, if you're trading a player, you better know who he is. And I don't think they know who Nikishin is. And given where they are and what they need to get over the hump, I think that I would have more hesitancy to do that if I'm Carolina.
Eric Brandstrom was traded for Mark Stone.
Yeah.
The prospects don't hit.
Sometimes, yeah. But I mean, you saw Nikishin thrown into the mix in the middle of a playoff series, plays first NHL games in the middle of a playoff series. Too soon to make a judgment on him as a player, but he looked really good and looked like a difference maker for that team. So I think it would be a mistake to pull the trigger on a deal knowing what Evan Bouchard is, which obviously he's a great player on the offensive end. And if he plays for Carolina, he's probably putting up 100 points a year.
Yes.
But you know what he's not, too. You know what he's not. And boy, I have a problem with the price tag knowing what he's not.
Yeah, that's why he's not expendable. That's like if you trade Evan Bouchard would be such a huge loss for the Oilers. And there would definitely be points in the postseason where you're like, oh yeah, that's why you don't just subtract guys like that off your roster. If it would be an easier pill to swallow if they still had Philip Broberg. They of course do not, but it's someone I'm at least considering. I'll say though that the Hurricanes deal, I would do that in less than a second. If all it is Nikishin in the Stars 2026 first, I am doing that immediately if I'm the Hurricanes.
I don't think you can say all it is Nikishin. Like, Nikishin could be fucking awesome.
Yes, he could be.
Yeah.
He could be.
They don't.
He could be.
Yeah, but they don't need him to be right now.
That's fair.
Like, they can wait. They're in a good position right now in terms of their roster. And, like, their window is not, I mean, it is right now, but it's also in a few years.
I'll just remind you again, like, Brandstrom was traded for Mark Stone. The prospects can hit, they cannot hit.
Right.
And that could be a deal that...
What I'm saying is, you know what Bouchard is. And Bouchard is not a perfect player. I think that what you're going to have to pay him on an average annual basis is you're probably going to have to pay him more than what you want already. So why trade a player whose ceiling could be just as high in Nikishin?
I mean, it depends on what the Hurricanes think of him too. And if Bouchard is defensively what he was for most of this postseason, like, because he's 25 years old, he's still not theoretically at his ceiling. Maybe he is getting better defensively. And if he is what he was through the middle of the first round through the Western Conference Final, then he's like conservatively a top 15 defenseman in the NHL, but more like top 10, 9, 8-ish, if that's what he is. But
historically, too, like, gotta mention, the Carolina Hurricanes don't love paying a ton for players.
And they just always find defensemen anyway.
Yeah.
Big question with the Oilers, other than the McDavid of it all. What do they do in net? The Oilers paid goalies $3.6 million this year. And for a frame of reference, Jack Campbell's buyout number is $2.3 million. So they were paying nothing. They were paying almost as much to buy out one of their goalies as they were paying the goalies that are playing for them. They still have Calvin Pickard signed for next season, and they have Stuart Skinner signed for next season. Both are UFAs after. They thought about John Gibson this season, didn't do it. Gibson didn't want to platoon with Stu Skinner, which I think makes John Gibson an absolute, I won't say it, but it's bitch.
You can't be scared of Stuart Skinner.
Yeah, right. I mean, that to me is crazy, especially when, like, you don't have the net yourself in Anaheim. What do you have to lose? You're playing for a better team with an equal share of the net.
Yeah, and you have the same numbers as this guy, but you're more consistent, and all the team wants is a consistent goalie. If you go there and you play well, you can win that net. Just like it's so Bo Byram to me.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, where do you want to go then? Who's giving John Gibson the keys? Maybe the Hurricanes. But like, who's just giving you that job that you want? And given your current position, why do you think that you're dictating
like
if your situation?
If you're John Gibson, aren't you just like, maybe he just really loves Anaheim, but aren't you just like, please get me out of here? Like, I'll take anything for a chance to rejuvenate my career.
Yeah.
He's just been fading into obscurity in Anaheim for the past handful of years.
Tyler Yaremchuk brought up Joel Hofer in St. Louis as an offer sheet candidate, which would be a lot of fun. I don't even know if they have the picks to do it or what the contract would look like, but young, what is he? Is he 25? 24, 25 years old. I don't know if that's just like a strike back at St. Louis thing, but yeah, if there's another young goalie you want to bring in there, sure. But the name that was thrown around in these parts a lot, our dear friends Felger and Maz, their reaction to the Panthers have won the Stanley Cup is, so can we trade Jeremy Swayman to the Edmonton Oilers? Because even though Felger was like, the goaltending didn't matter in this series, but I just want to get rid of Jeremy Swayman. I don't know if the Bruins feel that way, but obviously that was a long and contentious negotiation to arrive at that contract that pays Jeremy Swayman $8.25 million a year, I want to say.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Worth pointing out, too, like this is his no movement clause kicks in after this season.
He's too young. He doesn't have no trade rights.
If you have doubts and you are questioning whether he can fulfill that contract, live up to that contract, or if you're questioning now whether he fits the Boston Bruins timeline, maybe you explore and discuss the trade possibilities.
I'll say this for the Bruins, though. If you don't like the Jeremy Swayman contract, cap's going up. $8.25 million for a goalie, I feel, is not going to be that bad soon. And if he plays the way that he played a couple years ago, then that's awesome. Then it's already a bargain.
And you chose Jeremy Swayman over Linus Ullmark, and they got the exact same contract.
Yes. Or exact same AAV.
Yeah.
Sean, do you have the hypothetical trades I cooked up? All right, here are some trades with the Bruins to get Jeremy Swayman to Edmonton.
Which one? I have two separate graphics.
Oh, two separate ones. Okay, let's start with the first one, which is inspired by something someone tweeted at me. I fixed the offer a little bit, but it is the Oilers get Jeremy Swayman, Mason Lowry, the Maple Leafs first-round pick, and the... Do you have it, Sean?
Oh, I did, but I didn't know which one you were getting to yet.
Okay, trade one is what it's called.
I missed Lowry.
I would like a bless you, please.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, this one, add Lowry into it. It's the Oilers get Swayman, who's got 7 years left at $8.25 million. Mason Lowry, who is an RFA. He's a defenseman. He's let's say he's got some very poor man's Evan Bouchard to him in that he's not a good defenseman and he plays on the power play. And Boston receives Evan Bouchard and Stuart Skinner. Pete, for the Boston Bruins, do you like that?
I do. You get a what I would classify as a top 5 offensive center in the offensive defenseman in the deal. You get a goaltender whose ceiling is pretty solid. Like I don't believe in Stuart Skinner as like a really good goaltender, obviously, but the Bruins, like they're not going to contend over the next couple of years. So Stu Skinner's not going to burn you like he has arguably burned the Oilers at points. I think getting Bouchard back in this deal is worth trading Jeremy Swayman in my mind.
You get the best player in the deal. Yeah. And right now, the Bruins, I love you, Bruins. I'm allowed to say this in front of Pete. The Bruins roster fucking sucks.
Yeah, but it's incomplete right now.
Yes, yeah, right. Like it's barren is what I would think. And they've got a top maybe 10 player in the league there, and they've got a top defenseman. So like it's got some very good pieces, but so few. But and they've got cap space. Mm-hmm. So if suddenly now your pieces are, you've got Pasternak, you've got McAvoy, you've got Evan Bouchard. I mean, you're starting off right now. Is that the best right side top 4 in the NHL? Possibly, because Evan Bouchard ain't playing on the top pairing over McAvoy. That's unbelievable. Yeah. You've now got the makings of something skaters-wise. I do that. And I love Jeremy Swayman, and I think that you're going to need to figure out the goaltending, but I think that if you do that, your strategy is anyway, like we're punting on having the high-paid goalie. That's not going to be, it clearly isn't what they wanted to do, and I think that for a team that's not going to be that good, Stu Skinner and Jonas Korpisalo is an absolutely fine tandem.
It's fine.
It's not good.
No.
It's absolutely fine. And you're probably trading one of those guys at the deadline.
And you make your Jonas Korpisalo very happy because he wanted more time in net, and you're probably going to get it if Stuart Skinner is your 1A, whatever you want to call him. Yeah, I mean, like, I think Jeremy Swayman is going to be much better than what he showed this year, which I think we're all in agreement on. So, like, I'm not saying trade Jeremy Swayman, but I'm saying if you can trade Jeremy Swayman and get Evan Bouchard back, like, Evan Bouchard can be a foundational piece for this team for quite some time. And he is a real luxury. Guys like that are very hard to find. You have to couch them because he's not so good defensively. But what the Bruins do have are like guys like Hampus Lindholm. If Hampus Lindholm can be awesome and be like even close to the player that he was a couple of years ago, like him and Bouchard together would be an unbelievable pairing.
The more I think about it, I'm taking back the Bruins roster fucking sucks. The Bruins roster is not good, but I like both Lindholms. I'm a Hampus Lindholm guy. I'm not an Elias Lindholm guy.
The big question with Elias Lindholm is, where is he playing?
Yeah.
If he is your third line center, oh yeah.
Second line center. It's not very good.
Yeah.
It's not terrible.
I mean,
if he's your first line center, it's terrible. If he's your second line center, not very good. If he's your third line center, and I think the contract is fine.
You're still paying him like he's your first line center or second line center.
Like $7.5 million.
You're paying him like he's your second line center. You're going to have an overpaid third line center.
All right, Sean, hit me. Here is the other trade I've come up with for Jeremy Swayman to the Oilers. This one's a lot simpler. The Oilers get Jeremy Swayman.
This is an absolute no for me.
The Bruins get Darnell Nurse and Vasily Podkolzin.
This, to me, screams DJ wants this. And every Oilers fan wants this because they should want this.
Okay.
You get a goaltender and you get rid of an albatross on the blue line.
Can I eat $2 million of Darnell Nurse's contract, and you now have Darnell Nurse on your second pairing for $7.25 million? And
you can do that. I'm going to say no, absolutely not.
I'm saying no to these if I'm Boston. If I'm Boston, I'm not giving Jeremy Swayman away. And not that this would be giving away Jeremy Swayman, but if I'm trading Jeremy Swayman, I'm trading him in a deal that makes sense for this rebuildish type movement they're making.
The Boston Red Sox just made a trade in which they gave away one of their best players because they didn't want his salary, and they took back a couple of... so the prospects were good-ish, but it was definitely like immediate feeling like you lost the deal because you gave away the best player, and it felt like you wanted to just dump the contract. This would be dumping the contract and giving away the best player while also taking back a very bad contract. It would make no sense to me.
It's not a very bad contract if it's $2 million retained, but
it's at a position where you do not need.
Yes.
Like, you do not become a better team whatsoever if you're the Bruins.
Yeah, I think that in that deal, you also need, like, Savoy or O'Reilly or something. But I think that Edmonton really can't trade those guys right now because they're going to be needing to play for the team for cheap.
Here's so there's for the Edmonton Oilers goaltending situation. I think there are two paths. Number one is you change it completely. You do the Colorado Avalanche thing where you say, this is not what we want. This is not good enough for us as a team right now. We're changing out all the parts. The other path is you get rid of Pickard and you get somebody else who becomes more of your starter, and Stuart Skinner becomes your backup.
Yeah.
That I think more likely is the backup plan, right? Like improving your backup. And this is where I was at the trade deadline this year, where I said, you don't have to swap the whole part out. You don't have to get like a clear starter, but get a goaltender with a higher ceiling than Calvin Pickard. So with that in mind, in moving forward with the assumption that it's the easier path, let me throw out a Philip Grubauer, who is a buyout candidate and has been really bad in Seattle for a few years at this point, but before arriving to Seattle was good. Like, if you're looking at a guy you can bring in at a low price and has a relatively high ceiling, would you do that and feel okay about it heading into next year?
What's the number one reason I do it?
It doesn't cost you a lot.
He's German. That's the number one reason I do it. It would have to be very, very, very cheap because he was very, very, very bad this year and has been very, very, very bad in. Boy, I mean, he's been terrible in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
You just need 900 goaltending. He's played 4 seasons with the Kraken. Shout out Frankie Valli, and has no seasons of a 9. He's never had a 900 save percentage. Dear God,
Like in Seattle?
yes,
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's been bad since arriving in Seattle. No doubt about that.
yeah. He arrived in Seattle in his 20s, and he's 33 years old. So I don't know if I would take Grubauer over Calvin Pickard right now.
Oh, it's a fair assessment, but also
That's kind of shuffling chairs, which
goaltenders
sometimes
in their
works.
30s though. Like it's not the same as skaters in their 30s. You know what I'm saying? Like there can be a 30 in your 30s rejuvenation to a goaltender, like there hasn't really been with skaters.
Someone says Jake Allen to the Oilers.
Anything within that realm, I think, is fine. Like it would help.
I think that there's Montembeault. I mean, yeah.
He would. Andre Vasilevsky would be a good backup.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm speaking from the Sabres' perspective because they seem to be in the market. I feel like one of the Canucks goalies, whether that's Demko or Sheilov,
Demko, yeah,
end up getting shipped out of there.
I mean, I think that the Canucks are, and not that Podkolzin became a star, but that they were like, yeah, fine, we'll make a deal with the Oilers. Yeah, we'll give him our trash, and then he ends up being a useful player. I think the Canucks are rattled right now at the prospect of any more of their guys, even down to like Gadjevich looking good and making funny faces. Like they've got to be so scared of, we can't have any more of our guys be impactful absolutely anywhere else. But I mean, they are going to do something about the goaltending. I don't think that it necessarily means they're going to get rid of Skinner.
Yeah.
Because like, what fucking happens if Skinner, like, wouldn't it be the most Stu Skinner thing in the world for him to have an awesome season next year?
Yeah, but it would be it would make the most sense if it was somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like to me, I want Stu Skinner to succeed. I feel like there's probably a better chance of it happening somewhere else.
Stu Skinner, Hurricane.
Yeah, like honestly.
Stu Skinner, Utah Hockey Clubber.
He would never get to play because Karel Vejmelka.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they only played Karel Vejmelka because it was the only NHL goalie like in the entire state.
Last thing I'm gonna throw in for the Oilers, and this is off the dome because we don't have him on here. Oilers tried to trade for Mikko Rantanen famously.
Mm-hmm.
Do they get in on JJ Peterka with their dear friends and trade partners, the Buffalo Sabres? What do you want, Sean?
I mean,
you'd want Bouchard.
Yeah, I was going to say. It's basically the only thing you have to offer as far as I'm concerned.
All right, Bouchard for Peterka and UPL.
No.
What about Devin Levi?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
that is a depressed asset.
I just like that one. Yeah, like yes, but it just feels like they'll trade him and then he'll win a Stanley Cup for the Edmonton Oilers.
And Devin Levi,
it's a depressed asset
because
he's in Buffalo, so he has depression, and he's still only 23 years old.
Yeah, he just has been really bad every time he's been in the NHL, but really good in the AHL. I'm more like, is Evan Bouchard what this Buffalo Sabres team needs right now? As good of a player as he is, like seems like that could go very poorly for this team. I just don't know if these two teams make good trade partners anymore.
I feel like the Buffalo Sabres need...
Buffalo Sabres make good trade partners with a lot of teams.
They need players who play way more responsibly.
Yes, exactly.
Than Evan Bouchard.
Like you put him,
you start scoring fucking goals, man.
But the thing is
still
like
going to be you're going to be trying to outscore your problems, and you're going to score a lot of goals, but you're going to have a lot of problems.
And you don't use them on the first power play unit. You'd still use Deline. So do you want all of that? Do you want a defensively irresponsible guy playing next to your captain just to be on the second power play unit?
I mean,
I think
that the reason that you don't get Evan Bouchard then is because Bouchard knocks the captain off the first power play unit. And
Yeah.
How does the captain, who may or may not be telling the Sabres, make me happy or I'm gone, how will he feel about, okay, we're improving the team. Go sit over there.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens.
I don't think it's a good fit. I think this is a case of us putting players on the same 4 teams.
All right, fine. Let's put him on the Mammoth then.
That's right.
We all silly like the mayor.